dia, Boker Tov. Bom, começamos com uma música pedindo, né, você Shalom, Bimromá, para falar de Tetsê, né? Quando for a guerra, vá pensando na paz, né? E hoje, assim, a gente tem, assim, com muita honra de ter esse estudo, né, com o Rabino Joseph Edelheit. Rabino Joseph Edelheit é o professor emérito de estudos judaicos, né, de religiosidade, e ele é um grande amigo da Ari, e é uma grande honra a gente ter ele aqui falando, né, para a gente sobre essa Parashat. Importante aqui dizer, né, que o Rabino Joseph Edelheit tem proficiência completa no entendimento do português, mas se comunica melhor no inglês. Então, vai fazer a exposição em inglês, vai ter uma tradução simultânea, mas podemos fazer as perguntas em português, vamos fazer esse exercício, é um bom exercício mental, né, pensar em duas línguas. Rabino Joseph, thank you very much, okay?
Obrigado. I am honored to come and teach. Do you need me to use the mic? No. No, please.
Yeah, because there is some people outside.
Okay.
But I can roll for you if you want.
Yeah. So, I am honored as a member of ARI, as a member of our community, to share in the Thursday morning Torah study. Thank you. This week's Torah portion ends. It concludes with 3 verses that have already been read in the calendar. So that's your first test. When were the last 3 verses of this week's portion already read?
In the last book? No, in the
No.
second book.
No. Shabbat Zachor. These 3 verses are read on the Shabbat prior to Purim. And they are read so we will remember Amalek. I have studied, taught, studied more, and continue to be fascinated with who is Amalek. And I bring you the problem today using the last 3 verses of our Sidra. Why? Because Amalek, even yet today, is considered the embodiment of evil for the Jewish people. Look at the first quote I put on my 4 pages. Why did Amalek attack? It was, as found in Psalm 83, to cut off Israel from being a nation so that there would be no remembrance of it. In short, Amalek's motive was genocidal. That is a risky word today, that word genocide. We have to be careful when we use it, how we use it. Even though the psalmist lists a number of nations as a part of a league, only Amalek attempted to bring about the liquidation of Israel. Amalek turned out to be Israel's chief antagonist, and as the rabbis state, Israel's unreconcilable enemy. Within 36 hours of October 7th, Amalek was used in comparison to Hamas. Does it fit?
It's a group.
Look, I'm going to offer you many texts today. It's a Torah study that won't end, won't meet the standards of time. my goal is for you to leave here with more questions than you came, so you can go back and study more. Let's look at the verses from this week's Sidra, verses 17 to 19. Remember what Amalek did to you on your journey after you left Egypt. But I want you to look at the first word, zachor. It is a positive commandment to remember. How, undeterred by fear of God, he, Amalek, surprised you on the march when you were famished, weary, and cut down all the stragglers, the most vulnerable. Stragglers are people who can't keep up. They're the most vulnerable. Therefore, when your God grants you safety, I think this translation is very important. This word safety, since October 7th, has become a key idiom in our identity. From all your enemies around you, in the land your God is giving you as a hereditary portion, you shall blot out the memory from under heaven, al tishkach, do not forget. If there was nothing else these three verses have made me think about as a student of Torah, is the positive commandment and the negative commandment. Remember, don't forget. So here is my first question. This is in the last part of Deuteronomy. I have often wondered if this verse was added in the year 90 as the Tanakh was being put together. Is it a warning as you go into the diaspora? Okay, we're not ready to argue yet. Save up some of the arguments. I'm asking questions. You can, but can we allow for a little bit more time? Okay. So, where is the first time we meet Amalek? And I give you the verses. The next many verses come from Exodus 17, verses 8 to 14. Here is a context that's important to remember. Exodus 15, Shirat Hayam. What happens in Shirat Hayam? Pharaoh gets swallowed up in Yam Suf. Pharaoh's gone. Pharaoh and his army gone, obliterated. From the beginning of Exodus through the end of Exodus 15, who is evil? Pharaoh, Egypt. But now Pharaoh is gone. And they're on their way. Exodus 16, what happens? They're thirsty. They want water. They're hungry. They want more than just manna and quail. Okay. They're a people. They're a community. And now in the middle of 17, totally without any introduction, what do we get? A new evil. Amalek came and fought with Israel at Rephidim. Who is Amalek? The text gives you no biographical indication at all. So unless you know how to use Google early, you had to go to something called a concordance, where you could check all the names in the Tanakh. And when I was a first-year student at HUC, I went, and for the first time, I found out who Amalek is. You have to go all the way back to Genesis. So here's my second question. Why is Amalek introduced in chapter 17 of Exodus? So, Pharaoh's gone. you have 8 verses in which Moses will be, for the first time, not just a prophet, not just a redeemer, but he's now a warrior. He individually is responsible, and he sits and he holds the staff, and then his arm gets heavy, nope, and his arm, nope. We don't know why Amalek is fighting. We don't know who Amalek is. Let's look. Exodus 36. Toldot. These are the names of Esau's sons. Eliphaz, the son of Esau's wife Ada. Ruel, the son of Esau's wife Basemath. Anyone remember who Esau went out to marry? Canaanites. And his parents are very upset. Rebekah goes to Yitzchak, what are you going to do about this? Look who he's out with. No, it's a serious problem. I don't like her. The sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zepho, Gatam, Genaz. Timnah was a concubine of Esau's son Eliphaz. She bore Amalek to Eliphaz. If you don't look for it, you will not find where Amalek comes from. Why does the text hide the origin of Amalek? My job here is to read the text and ask questions. Okay? He has answers. Okay? We'll argue. Maybe others have answers. But truly, look at this passage. How many of you have never read Genesis 36 before? Didn't know where Amalek came from? There is a passage in the Babylonian Talmud, Rosh Hashanah, where Timnah comes before the patriarchs and says, excuse me, I'd like to become a Jew. No one will let her into the community. What? Feeling rejected, she says, fine, I'll go and not be a wife. What is a concubine? It's a unique biblical category, not yet a wife, certainly not a kideshah, a prostitute, but someone who is taken in, not considered at the same legal level. So, Amalek is connected to the patriarchs. Let's remember, Esau and Jacob are twins. When we read the Avot, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, every time we do that, there's someone missing. And we could spend 3 weeks just on talking about the problem of Esau and who Esau will represent. So now we know where Amalek comes from. But I'll go back and ask, why is Amalek introduced in Exodus 17? What does the text need? Well, maybe if you follow the thread of Amalek, you will better understand. The next passage I gave you, 1 Samuel, chapter 15. Here's an interesting biblical trivia. What does Amalek have to do with King Saul losing his crown. What? No. Now you can answer the question. That question you can answer.
Because King Saul killed all the Amalekites, right? The Agag.
Did not kill.
Yes, he was supposed to kill, but did not kill, and then killed them. And then Shmuel killed the Agag. And he is also the forefather of Haman and
So
many other people.
Raul is now giving us exactly the line. And what is the line? God says, I told you in Deuteronomy, remember, don't forget, go kill the Amalekites.
And ends here in Aleon the hill.
Okay. So, Saul goes and kills and wipes out, but does not kill a god. And there's a whole question the rabbis have. Should we be proud of King Saul? Was he showing leadership instead of adding to more violence? Samuel, excuse me, did you hear what God asked? Oh, you didn't kill the king. Do you know what you've now done? As Raul notes, when we go to the book of Esther, we meet Haman, who is a descendant of Agag. Wow. All the way. And we're going to get there. You're going to get part of the answer. You'll notice on the third page, sometime afterward, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite. Haman is a diaspora figure of hatred. I often introduce him when I teach anti-Semitism. He is, for me, the first example of political anti-Semitism in Jewish history. Why? Here it is. Haman saw that Mordecai would not kneel or bow low. Haman was filled with rage. Okay, he's out of control, but he disdained to lay hands, having been told who Mordecai's people were. Comes right out of a contemporary definition of anti-Semitic behavior. He goes from one to all. Haman plotted to do away with all the Jews. That's it. The Hebrew Bible is canonized in the year 90. I believe that the book of Esther is a diaspora book. It was created, and I write about this in my book, it was created to help the people leave and move into the world. There will be Hamans in your existence. What are you going to do about it? Here, we're going to have it read once a year on a day where you hide your faces, where you pretend you aren't who you really are, with a book that never mentions God, just to make sure you understand who is ultimately responsible. I want you to read in the middle of this long passage what he does, what he says. He says the king removed his signet ring, gave it to Haman the Agagite, the foe of the Jews. Anti-Semitism is about power. It is about power to control. The money and the people are yours to do with as you see fit. And he made sure, according to written instructions, to all the king's provinces to destroy, massacre, exterminate all the Jews, young and old, children and women, on a single day, on the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar. Sound familiar? Sounds familiar to me. And who was Haman? an Agite. And King Agag came from Amalek. So, we'll go back and look. I think the Tanakh, not just the Torah, continues to be the single most important resource every single Jew must engage. I am often bewildered when I ask Jews who want to know what it means to be a Jew. When I say, have you read the Tanakh? Well, no. What relevance does the Tanakh have to me? Okay. Shh. I'm giving people a little bit more kuvit. Look, my hope today was to take 3 verses and show you how complex 3 verses are. You have to go back to Exodus, you have to go back to Genesis, then you have to go to Samuel, then you have to go to Esther. That's 3 verses. You must start with our Bible before you worry about Midrash and Talmud and Maimonides. Just read our Bible. Just stay here with our Bible. I finish with 2 quotes, 2 among many, many, the end of the 3rd and 4th page. Even with a superficial examination, we can feel in Amalek the symbol of militarism, that the sword is not only a means to an end, but the very purpose of life. I think we as Jews, and again I say for me, subsequent to October 7th, I have to acknowledge not only are there people who hate my community, there are people for whom violence is the means of expressing the hatred. I accept responsibility for being more naive or hopeful or optimistic or utopian, but October 7th has done something to me, in which it's not merely they don't want me, they want to exterminate the community. For me, this has pushed me back to think about Amalek. What does the Torah want me to do with this problem? Those that go out to war do so not because they have to or because they have no choice. Only in war can they find a way to distinguish themselves and their ego. What distinguishes Amalek from all other nations is that it raises the sword not because it must, but because it can. Because it is an opportunity to demonstrate its power, its ability to dominate the other. This can be seen, Rav Amiel explains, in the way that Amalek attacked the Jewish people after leaving Egypt. Rather than striking the able-bodied, Amalek cut down the stragglers, the vulnerable. They did this not to achieve a military objective, but because the stragglers represented those too physically weak to keep up. Their very existence was an affront to Amalek because Amalek hates the weak and desires to be amongst those who oppress others. Amalek represents a will to power that sees war and violence as an ultimate good because it separates the strong from the weak. I go back and ask my first question. Why is Amalek given to us in the Torah? An alert. Okay? An alert, a warning. Tizaher. Go on.
Because evil is a part of human nature. Okay, you can't forget that there is evil in the world. You can't just think about the world without thinking about evil. Together with goodness, with kindness, with indifference, with intolerance, with tolerance. Evil is a part of our nature. We are evil, all of us. Sometimes to some stuff, I don't know. My daughter said to me, "Can you stay here in my home 3 days? I'm going away with my husband, and you'll take care of the children." I said, "Yes, okay." And she has a cat. So I say, "Okay, the cat." She didn't told me, "Feed the cat." So I didn't. It smells bad. So I say, "Okay, the cat is there. I know it's evil." And then now the cat passed away, but a few months after, so it's not my fault. But everybody has this evil inside. So we can't forget that. So it says, "Al tishkach et Amalek." And it says here, this is for communal stuff, right? No communal, international stuff, the international relationships. But it says here in Torah so many times, and in this Parashat as well, in Tetsê here, Ben Sorero More, it says in the end, assim você varrerá o mal do seu meio. So this way you are going to sweep the evil from your midst, killing the bad people. Yeah, I'm not telling that I like this thing, but the idea that you are not going to react against evil and going to pretend that it doesn't exist.
Good.
Is something that destroys everything.
Good.
You can't build a society without understanding that there will be evil. The evil needs to be treated, and when the society goes well, we tend to forget that there is evil. Oh, no, it's education. It's education. We'll give more education for this guy. I can't say what I'm thinking now, but you understand. No, not education. There are two brothers. One is evil, one is good. We had the same education, same mother, the same father. No, no. There is evil, we don't understand. We don't understand. And the Torah tells us, don't forget that it is evil, and don't forget to destroy evil. And then there is the question, okay, so I destroy evil, it went away? No! Evil will be there again, because it's part of the nature, so it's not so complex. But there is an easy explanation for that, maybe. That, okay, you can destroy evil, and then it's going to be back again. Yes! And that means that, no, don't do that, because you're going to be back again. Don't destroy what? No. It's like don't brush your teeth because you're going to have to brush your teeth again in the afternoon. No, you need to destroy evil all the time that you see it, metaphorically or not. So this is a very powerful message of the Torah, of the Tanakh, that many people will say, what is Tanakh? Is it in Netflix? This is what they are going to answer.
I would say that is equilíbrio.
Português não precisa inglês, mas obrigado.
Eu diria que é equilíbrio, seria um equilíbrio. Porque você tem o ruim, temos o ruim, não, então vamos fazer o bom para a gente não ser igual ao ruim. Sempre tem essa coisa do equilíbrio. Porque se tiver só sem o ruim, o bom de repente não vai funcionar direito. Então, sabendo como é o ruim, a gente tem uma visão de como seria. E eu queria te perguntar a sua opinion about the millions of Israelis that querem parar com a guerra, esqueceram 7 de outubro e não querem mais a guerra. Qual é a sua opinião sobre isso?
not going to try and offer al regel achat, an opinion about what Israel is or is not doing. I think it's cheap for me, sitting in Rio de Janeiro. 3 times I thought about making Aliyah. When I decided not to make Aliyah, I realized that for the rest of my life, I did not invest my family in the defense of the state. My children were not called Tetsê, miluim. I have not worked nearly as hard as my colleagues in Maram, the Israeli Reform Rabbinate. So my opinion is of little value to you. I have personal ideas, but I'm going to be Imersah Hashem 78 in November. I don't know how a terrorist war in a city should be prosecuted. Underneath this, I don't know. So I have opinions about Ben Gvir and Schmorch because they are Kahanists. And I knew Meir Kahane in America. I have an opinion about that, but not so much about Israel. I'm worried that those who live in the Galut should be more humble about what they think Israel should be doing. I want to go back to a question. I believe Amalek is introduced to the Torah after Pharaoh is destroyed because Amalek is evil within, not from outside. Now, I've taken you out of Egypt, 430 years of slavery. Now we are free to go to Mount Sinai and serve. Wait just a minute. Before you go to Mount Sinai, I want you to understand there's evil, and some of what Raoul said, I think we have to grapple with as a community, what it means to live with evil. And now I'm going to add, the evil is from within. Now, you want a problem? I'm going to give you a problem. Your inherent dysfunctional family. It's not even the Moabites. When God said to Abram, I'm going to give you a place, oh, comma, by the way, there are a bunch of people already living there. No, Amalek is not among those. Amalek comes from us. Now. Oh, okay. That's why I think this passage and the thread of Amalek is added late as a warning for leaving and living in the diaspora. So, we need to be careful about those we don't know. But, excuse me, taking Raoul's statement, learn to live with the problem of evil from within what you think you know. Who is Amalek's father? Eliphaz. Does that name ring a bell with anyone? What? Yes. Eliphaz is one of the 3 friends of Job. Job. After Job is ruined, he sits in sackcloth and ash, and 3 chaverim, 3 amigos come to comfort him. And Eliphaz is the first. I have recently been studying and reading and rereading Job, thinking about Eliphaz as Amalek's father. I also have a long theory that Job is the last book added to the Tanakh.
They say that Job is a book that was one of the first books written.
It's clearly not a, quote, Israelite book. It's a more universal book. I'm more interested in this moment in why is it in the Tanakh? And so when you have Eliphaz, and now you have Eliphaz and Amalek, oh, where?
Job came in the same age of Josias, that Josias found the...
Yes, the issue of dating a text, when I was at HUC, they made us memorize it. I've never used the dates in 51 years. So it's an interesting idea. I'm more interested in if Eliphaz really is the Eliphaz who is Amalek's father, does that mean his role in Job must be reread now that I'm more concerned about Amalek? So, my goal today, give you texts, some of which you've never seen. Ask questions I don't think could be answered in the time they've given us.
No, for sure, no. For sure, now we...
Just a question. Mika Guzman is good. Devagar. Mika Goodman is recorded 5 sessions about Job. Did you listen to them?
Part.
It's very interesting. I'm in the 3rd one. It's very interesting. If Eliphaz, no, not if, Eliphaz is the father of Amalek. That means that Amalek inherited stuff from Eliphaz or not? Because Moshe also is a father, is son of Terah. He didn't inherit it. So it's not a question, but something to think about. But listen to Mika Goodman's Job is really interesting, yes, and he says that Job maybe is the first, one of the most ancient texts of the Tanakh. More or less the same moment of Bereshit, more or less in this era. And many people think that, yes, it's universal, yes, it's a mashal, it's not a story, it's not something that happened, it's a parabola, huh? And it's very ancient, and it's a problem, a very strong problem. So I needed to go to a synagogue in Ipanema that has a Sephardic Chabad rabbi, which is very interesting because he reads Aramaic with an Ashkenazi accent, with something really strong, okay? And then they gave me a Sefer Torah, a Chumash like that, like the Plaut, and it was in the Parashat Shoftim, I think. And in the end of Shoftim, there is a part that says that God punishes and rewards, and then there is a commentary there. The commentary that says that from Rashi, but interpreted by the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And says, yes, God rewards and punishes, but sometimes God doesn't have the time to punish the bad people during his life. So God, it's not that God doesn't punish. God punishes, but sometimes he just forgets. And then after life, he's going to have and so he explaining everything about Job in this little sentence. Ocasionalmente, Deus não tem tempo. Não dá tempo. Deus tem muita coisa para fazer. Então esse cara escapou, mas eu vou pegar ele depois. This is written there, not like that, mas ocasionalmente está escrito.
Não, o André Stein quer falar alguma coisa, e eu tinha uma coisa para falar também. Só uma observação, quer dizer, no mesmo capítulo que se fala do mal, né, mais personificado, e que você deve combater esse mal, né, ele te diz que você deve combater isso de uma forma civilizada, de uma forma decente e com todos os cuidados, né, quer dizer, Porque exatamente nesse capítulo que se fala do mal, tem uma regra, né, uma regra de contenção à selvageria das conquistas, né? Quer dizer, porque você, tomado pela raiva, né, contra esse mal profundo, no combate desse mal profundo, você tende a ser pior do que ele, você tende não pior, mas você tende, inclusive, a conquistar a maldade do que você está combatendo. E nessa hora eu acho que é um outro alerta, né? E na mesma Parashat está se dizendo: não despreze o egípcio, pois você foi um estrangeiro na terra. Não despreze o edomita. Quer dizer, são todos, talvez, ex-inimigos. E aqui ele está dizendo, quer dizer, para Amaleque não tem techuvá.
Well, look, in the written commentary I did for this week for Ari, my brother-in-law said, don't do it on what you're teaching on Thursday. And when my brother-in-law gives me a challenge, so I picked the first 3 verses. Decency. The first 3 verses deal with decency. And I've decided that that word is a word I need to describe a part of my struggle after October 7th. Because what Hamas has done intentionally is indecent. So, this Torah portion deals with a wide range, 74 different commandments. And you get things that when you look at them, you go, oh, everybody should know that. That's just obvious. I think we're living in a time when we can't assume that anymore. I struggle, there's one act in particular that I struggle with since October 7th. It's the rabbi in me. The rabbi in me struggles with bodies taken to Gaza and corpses used as if they were hostages. There is something so vulgar and cruel about not allowing the family, that body, to be buried. That's indecent. And it's intentional. So,
And what it says about the Red Cross?
oh, lots of things, Raul. But this Torah portion makes us go back and look at just what it means to be decent. That's a word all of us have to look at. What is that simple, basic ethic? Has nothing to do with politics. Ser humano, just being human.
André, please.
Posso falar em português?
Pode.
É porque agora eu estou muito confuso.
Then I was a success.
Exatamente. Porque, primeiro, você já chegou a comentar, nós temos a tendência de pensar que Amaleque está fora de nós. E Amaleque, o mal, está dentro do povo. E eu não tinha percebido isso até então. Então, essa interpretação e esse ensinamento que você traz para a gente hoje é importante, porque a gente, o povo judeu, Israel, também acha que só tem o mal fora do povo de Israel. E nós temos, talvez, personagens maus dentro do povo de Israel. Não, mas existe uma ingenuidade geral, claro que tem, do povo judeu. Isso é ok, mas como licença poética, a gente costuma achar que o mal está sempre fora, e a gente sabe que temos o mal dentro. Ok. Enfim, são muitas... Vou deixar para falar mais depois, talvez, porque, de fato, a gente tem que refletir como tratar o lado ruim que todos nós temos, todas as sociedades têm dentro delas, cada uma dentro delas.
Mas-
O que me impressiona é como que o mundo olha para a situação que a gente tem hoje, após o 7 de outubro, e parece também não enxergar o mal que está do lado do Hamas. Acha que a luta deles é honesta, acha que o que eles fazem é justo, é uma libertação, que nós agora somos os faraós, e como que esses valores conseguiram ser invertidos, né? E a dificuldade que nós temos de reinverter, de refazer, buscando o que a gente acha que é uma grande verdade.
Well,
Eu
I'll probably say things that have been said already, but I'll try to say it in another way, in another path. I've been repeating myself about the importance of understanding that life is not white or black, it's gray. And I think reading Torah, reading our sources, we find a permanent struggle between utopia and reality. And in this issue of Amalek, I think this struggle is also present. And it's really, it's hidden in a very mysterious way in the way it is presented when we are said to forget and not forget. We are supposed to forget the evil. We are supposed to wipe it out. And that's our utopia. And we cannot forget it because that's our reality. And bringing this reality, and it means also inside and outside. I'm not distinguishing the evil here. I think that when we're speaking about it, our nature is always to put it outside. It's always to look to the others, to look to the different. And also to get some prevalence over the weak. It's within our nature. And the commandment that we have is not forgetting it, trying to eliminate that. So I think Amalek here is presented as part of this permanent struggle between utopian and reality.
Thank you.
Alguém mais que eu gostaria de falar? Germano, wants to talk? No more? Well, yeah, no, okay. No, I just want to really to point how you made those three parts of the Torah so deeply, how you interacted. You really made us to think how to make a study on multiple Christmas and going back and forth. That thing is so amazing. How to, it's really a study. And that shows that when you make a study, you for sure you can follow the right line, but you can make this line to go make a Picasso picture. Yeah. Anyway, please.
Eu acho incrível que Tetsê, com os 70 e tantos, 72 ou 74 mandamentos, que eu acho que é a parte mais atemporal da Torá, é a parte que pode ser aplicada, praticamente aplicada a qualquer momento da nossa história. Muitas vezes a gente tem passagens que a gente tem que pensar, não, mas isso naquele momento, como que a gente pode traduzir para o momento atual, para a nossa vida? E aqui parece que isso foi escrito ontem, muitos desses mandamentos. E sempre, a cada ano, me chama a atenção alguns trechos, mas este ano, até por você falar de Amaleque, quem foi Amaleque? Da onde veio Amaleque? Pais não serão condenados à morte pelos filhos, nem filhos serão condenados à morte pelos seus pais. Cada um será condenado à morte somente por seu próprio crime. Então, ledor vador, mais ou menos.
Não, a coisa está para a conclusão, não entendi.
Nem terras. Você passa de geração em geração, mas tem coisas que a geração...
Você passa de geração em geração, mas cada geração é responsável. Então, o fato do pai ter te passado alguma coisa e continuar te passando não quer dizer que você recebeu direito. Às vezes você recebeu melhor. Então, não é... Essa ideia realmente assim, não, é tudo bonzinho. Não, não é. Não é. Agora, o Joseph deu várias aulas maravilhosas e mais uma que eu quero falar. Então, o Joseph fez um comentário da Parashat baseado em 3 versos. É muito mais profundo do que fazer um comentário baseado no texto de 5 capítulos. Muito mais interessante. Você focar num negócio. Isso é para nós aqui. A gente tem que lembrar que ano que vem a gente está aqui de novo. Então, se você, esse ano, vai comentar todo o que tem, ano que vem você vai repetir. Você vai num lugar, você pega num lugar e aprofunda aquele negócio. Aprofunda, claro que o Rabino Joseph tem uma habilidade para aprofundar maior do que a nossa, mas nós também temos. Menor que a dele, mas não somos cegos. Então, acho que é uma coisa que eu sempre falo aqui. Pega um ponto, não começa a me contar a história da Parashat. Para isso eu leio a história da Parashat. Pega um ponto, fala, eu quero comentar essa letra, certo? E comenta ela. E dela você faz o universo. Isso é brilhante, então foi brilhante. Obrigado.
Obrigado. Look, I've been doing this 51 years. and doctoral work, so when I teach Torah, I do it as a model for how others can continue to learn. That's all I'm offering you. I don't want you to agree with me. I want you to engage the text. That's my goal.
Okay, so we almost finishing, and Mr. Germano, and then
Bom, primeiro agradeço ao Rabino Joseph o seu estudo, mas é interessante o que chama atenção em cada estudo que a gente faz. Para mim, o caso de Amaleque não teve tanta importância e eu peço licença para entrar numa outra área que é da Haftarah. Primeiro, eu quero esclarecer que eu dedico esse estudo à minha esposa Dora, que esta semana completa 3 anos do seu falecimento, e daí me ficou muito mais claro que eu não quero falar de raiva e ódio, prefiro falar de lembranças de amor, de uma convivência. No Tanar, o relacionamento entre Deus e Israel é frequentemente escrito em termos conjugais. Deus é retratado como marido, Israel como a esposa. Quando Israel observa os termos do casamento, fazendo a vontade de Deus, fala-se do relacionamento com amor e afeição. Mas quando Israel quebra a aliança, disse que Deus se divorciou de Israel. Há uma advenção na metáfora do divórcio que nos é estranha. No cenário bíblico, os maridos eram livres para se divorciarem dos seus parceiros, à vontade, pois o casamento não era visto como uma relação de iguais. Assim, embora a metáfora marido-esposa seja geralmente inadequada para o contexto moderno, sensibilidade, num aspecto importante, é tão aplicável hoje como era no tempo de Isaías. Amor e a confiança necessita de um cultivo constante no casamento humano. Você me desculpe que eu mudei o seu tema, mas o momento era importante para mim.
Irmão, qual é o dia? Irmão, qual é o dia hebraico do falecimento da Torá? Porque
O dia do falecimento, o dia hebraico.
Bom, o Yahtzeit foi, o dia seria quarta-feira.
Não,
O Yahtzeit,
ontem. Que a minha avó também faz essa semana, ela também chamava Torá.
Mas eu estou utilizando o nosso calendário lunar, né?
O calendário lunar.
Ok.
Eu vou ver qual é o dia lá da mão.
Bom.
But I think you're correct, and it links with acorda, black, white, gray. Gray is not instead of black and white. It's in addition to black and white. You see, marriage at its best is black, white, and gray. No marriage is perfect, and it's the love and the ability to know, not at the best, but at the worst, how you can stay together. One of the things I am studying right now is there a way to bring Esau back into the family? Okay, I knew what Raoul would say. What do I do with Jacob's older twin brother? Okay, thank you. I'm struggling with, okay, for another conversation. Thank you. May her memory be as her life was a blessing. Thank you for letting me study with you today.
Thank you. Obrigado a você, Rabino Joseph. Uma maravilha de estudo. Então, assim, mais uma vez agradecendo ao Rabino Joseph e encerrando aqui a gravação, a transmissão. Uma boa tarde, uma boa quinta-feira a todos. Temos aqui Estados Unidos, Suíça, Jerusalém, Tijuca, enfim, Belo Horizonte, aqui é Mara, tá? E é muito bom estar com vocês também, tá? E com todos que vão ver a gente depois, tá? Uma boa quinta-feira e Shana Tová já, tá? Um abraço, Richard, obrigado. Richard, você encerra?